Hi artists, it's Miss Kuntz and I'm here with some of my plants and we're going to use those for inspiration for an art idea. So as I look at my plants, I notice that they all look very different. They have some similarities and differences. So let's take a look at a few of them a little closer and see what we can notice. I notice that this plant kind of vines out when it grows. It has a stem and leaves that pop off of that. What does this shape remind you of? I notice that this plant produces little orange flowers. It looks like some of them have 4 petals, some have 3. The leaves on this plant are much closer together and have a bumpy edge. You might see where it's kind of bumpy. The leaves of this plant get really pokey. They seem to all come out from the center. These are some plants that have just started growing. They started as a little tiny seed and they're getting bigger and bigger every day. These plants are flowers and vegetables that will be growing. This is another vegetable or fruit plant. These are little tomato plants. These are the first plants that I've picked up so far that look like they have a fuzzy stem. I wonder why the stem is fuzzy. Once these get bigger and bigger, they'll start producing flowers, and those flowers are where the tomatoes will grow. Here's another plant that will produce food, and it's going to produce cucumbers once it gets bigger and bigger and has flowers. So plants are pretty cool. There's really a lot of differences and they can be used for many different things. They're super important for our earth. Plants, what do they do with carbon dioxide? Yes, they turn it into oxygen that we can breathe. Like I showed you with the tomatoes and the cucumbers, we get food from plants. Not only do humans get food from plants, but all kinds of animals get food from plants. And they use many plants as shelters and places to live. Plants are also used to make many things, like paper and fabric and many things that we use in our lives. Medicines, lots of people have found out lots of ways to use plants. And taking all this inspiration together, the colors, the shapes, the textures of the plants, the things that plants can do, I want you to put those together and imagine your own plant. If you could create your own plant, what would it do? Would it produce food? Would it produce a certain smell? Would it do something to help people? What would your plant do? After you think about what your plant would do, you can start thinking about the shape, size, and color of your plant. Does your plant need to have pokey leaves? Does your plant need to produce flowers that will turn into food? Does your plant need to vine out and grow really long? What does your plant need to do? Okay, so we have thought of what our plant is going to do. And we've thought about the shape and size, texture, and color of our plant, what our plant will look like. Now we're ready to create it. I chose to draw my plant. You could make your plant out of paper, cut and glue it to make a collage. You could build a 3D version, a sculpture of your plant using cardboard, plastic, Play-Doh, or blocks that you have at home. My plant is a type of moss that can break down plastic because I know that our earth has a lot of plastic, and I thought it would be cool if there was a plant that could use that plastic as food. My moss produces little flowers on the top, and this is it growing on some plastic. So when you create your plant, oops, I forgot. I gave it a name. I looked up the Latin name for moss and then also paired it with plastic. And I wrote a little bit about it. So after you finish your plant and you give it a name, I would love to see it, and we can kind of have an imaginary garden of all of our plants. You can share it with me on your class's Flipgrid if your class has an art Flipgrid, or you can email it to me at lkuntz@wscloud.org. Have fun imagining some new plants, and next week we'll do another lesson that connects to this. Have fun.